This simply should not be happening in our reality. For decades, we have pointed telescopes at the darkest regions of deep space. Astrophysicists expected to find only the destruction and death of matter there. But the data we obtained shattered all our fundamental notions of time.
We discovered a planet that exists in defiance of all known laws of physics.
It orbits a supermassive black hole at an incredibly close distance. The monstrous gravity should have torn this world apart into the tiniest atoms. Yet, the mysterious sphere remains completely intact and moves steadily in its orbit. We have always considered black holes to be the ultimate cosmic killers.
Any matter near the event horizon is inevitably swallowed by this insatiable abyss.
But this incredible world calmly defies the cardinal rule of our universe. Up until this point, we were completely confident in the scientific validity of our theories. Astronomers had devised precise equations for the search for potentially habitable worlds. Life was always supposed to originate only near stable, warm stars. Planets must be located in the so-called habitable zone for liquid water. This is exactly how Earth formed, and this path seemed to us the only correct one. We logically searched for our cosmic brothers in reason around yellow dwarfs. Telescopes methodically scanned ordinary planetary systems in search of faint radio signals. It seemed to us that evolution works by the same rules everywhere. Scientists sincerely believed that the laws of thermodynamics equally protect all living things. We thought we understood the basic algorithm for creating a safe cosmic home. Areas near black holes were always marked as completely dead and hopeless zones.
There, intense radiation and gravitational chaos reign, leaving no chance for life.
We simply never looked there in search of alien intelligence. No sane physicist could entertain the idea of inhabited darkness. Supermassive monsters at the centers of galaxies were considered merely gravitational anchors. Their sole function was to keep star clusters from disintegrating. Any approach to such an object meant an inevitable and agonizing end. Mathematical models showed only the process of careless planets being torn to pieces. For centuries, we built our proud physics on these postulates. Humanity rejoiced at every exoplanet found with a habitable surface temperature. We were reassured by the thought that the universe operates according to clockwork mechanisms we could understand. One day, the data processing algorithms produced a critical and inexplicable error. The instruments recorded a periodic variation in the light from the rotating disk of a black hole. At first, researchers mistook this for a typical cluster of space debris being swallowed up. However, the mathematics of the transit method stubbornly indicated the presence of a perfectly round object. This gigantic sphere was situated right on the point of no return. Instead of chaotic absorption, the object exhibited a frighteningly stable orbital trajectory.
Its rotational speed around the singularity was half the speed of light.
At that moment, the scientific world felt the cold breath of true fear for the first time. The familiar illusion of a safe and understandable universe crumbled to dust once and for all. We realized that our knowledge of gravity is limited only by our tiny world. Beyond the solar system, forces exist that are capable of altering the very fabric of reality. And we have only just begun to timidly peer into this terrifying unknown. The situation was rapidly deteriorating with every new scan of this strange object. Astrophysicists attempted to measure the surface temperature of the mysterious planet near the black hole. Logic suggested that friction and radiation should have heated it to millions of degrees. Someone had deliberately moved this enormous world right to the edge of a gravitational abyss, and this unknown architect possessed truly godlike abilities to manipulate matter. But why on earth would anyone build a home in the most dangerous place in the universe? Any advanced civilization would prefer a quiet and peaceful orbit around a yellow star.
Life near a black hole means a constant risk of instant and complete annihilation.
Perhaps they were fleeing a threat even more terrifying than a black hole's singularity. This thought sends a real shiver down the spine of anyone analyzing the telemetry data. If something forced a powerful civilization to seek refuge on the edge of gravitational death, we are in danger. This unknown cosmic threat could be lurking anywhere in the boundless void of space, and we are completely defenseless in the face of such overwhelming and merciless superiority. We tried to pick up radio signals or at least some sign of communication from that planet. Huge antennas were pointed toward the black hole night after night, but the airwaves remained completely dead and unnaturally silent across all frequencies. Radio waves are simply incapable of escaping the monstrous gravitational embrace of the singularity. This world is completely isolated from the rest of the universe by an impenetrable barrier of warped space. They have become the perfect prisoners of their own incredibly complex and terrifying creation. No one from the outside can harm them, but they cannot escape either. This world has become the most perfect and impregnable fortress in the entire observable universe. This planet near the black hole is a silent rebuke to our entire scientific community.
It proves that reality is far more complex and bleak than our optimistic theories.
We have encountered a phenomenon that we can neither explain nor simply ignore. Every new day of research only intensifies our oppressive sense of impending catastrophe. Space has ceased to be a place for bold discoveries and has turned into a source of primal fear. And here, the situation becomes significantly worse for our understanding of reality. It is not just about the monstrous gravity and the impossible temperature balance of this planet. The main nightmare lies in exactly how the black hole distorts the flow of time. To an observer on Earth, one rotation of this planet takes only a few hours. However, for hypothetical inhabitants on its surface, long and agonizing years pass. They live at an incredibly accelerated pace relative to the rest of the observable universe. While we blink, entire generations of intelligent beings come and go, and empires crumble. This monstrous difference in the perception of time makes any contact physically impossible. We exist in completely different temporal dimensions, separated by the chasm of relativity. If we sent a radio signal there, they would perceive it as drawn-out noise. A radio wave lasting a second would stretch out for centuries for them, and we would never be able to detect their rapid response with our primitive instruments. To us, it would sound like an instantaneous and imperceptible burst of radiation.
Time has become the most reliable and insurmountable barrier between our civilizations.
This is not a random side effect of a black hole's immense mass, but a precise calculation. The creators of this world deliberately used gravitational time dilation for their protection. They have literally walled themselves off from us with a barrier of distorted and compressed seconds. While the rest of the universe slowly ages and dies, they live for an eternity. They have hidden themselves in a temporal pocket where external threats simply cannot keep up with their development. Some scientists speculate that they use a black hole as a giant supercomputer. Gravity allows them to accelerate computational processes to the absolute physical limits of the universe. They can simulate the birth and death of entire galaxies inside their servers. Perhaps they are searching for the answer to the universe's ultimate question, or a way to avoid the heat death of the cosmos. And our Earth may turn out to be merely an insignificant variable in their grand and terrifying calculations. In that case, our existence depends entirely on their digital mercy. This planet is not merely a refuge from cosmic predators or cataclysms.
It is a fully fledged time machine operating in only one irreversible direction.
This anomaly has proven that real power in the universe does not belong to the vast expanse of space. The true masters of reality control the very flow of merciless and unyielding time. But this discovery would not have been so frightening if it had turned out to be an isolated case. Scientists had hoped that this strange planet was merely a unique whim of cosmic nature. We pointed our upgraded telescopes at other supermassive black holes in neighboring galaxies. Astronomers sought confirmation there of the stability of our old physical models and theories. But what we saw completely shattered the illusion of safety. This anomaly repeats itself over and over again with a frightening, mathematically precise regularity. We detect similar planetary transit signatures near almost every large black hole. Everywhere, there is this impossible balance between total annihilation and perfect orbital stability. Millions of worlds rotate in sync on the edge of the abyss throughout the observable universe. This is clearly not blind chance, but a grand and purposeful systemic pattern. Perhaps ordinary stars simply do not provide a sufficient level of long-term survival. Stars explode as supernovae, fade away, and unpredictably change their luminosity over time. A black hole, despite its lethality, is the most stable object in the universe. It will exist for trillions of years after the last star has gone out. That is why intelligent species choose this eternal darkness as their final and reliable home. This turns our entire visible cosmos into a gigantic graveyard of abandoned worlds. Most advanced civilizations have long since left their cozy and safe cradles around yellow dwarfs. They have made a mass exodus to the centers of galaxies, fleeing the natural aging of the universe. We, however, continue to naively live on a powder keg, considering our situation the norm. Our carefree attitude looks ridiculous and pitiful against the backdrop of their harsh evolutionary choice. We simply haven't yet realized how fragile our ordinary star system is. The discovery of this mass migration fully explains the great silence of the radio waves. Civilizations have not died out. They have simply hidden behind the impenetrable walls of gravitational time dilation. They are physically unable to communicate with us while trapped in their temporal prisons. Their signals will never escape outward and reach our primitive earthly antennas. The universe is teeming with life, but this life is forever isolated in prisons of pure time. Every new discovery only intensifies our oppressive sense of absolute paranoia. We can no longer view the centers of galaxies as beautiful clusters of glowing gas. Now we know for certain that billions of prisoners of distorted time are there. Their fate serves as a grim warning to us about the real and ruthless rules of survival. Our universe has turned out to be a far more cruel and structured place than we had imagined. These impossible observations deal a crushing blow to the very foundation of modern science. If someone is capable of stabilizing an orbit right at the event horizon, physics does not work. Our formulas for gravity, thermodynamics, and quantum mechanics turn out to be nothing more than local illusions. This means that throughout our history, we have studied only a small part of a distorted picture. The basic principles of the universe have turned out to be malleable material in the hands of unknown engineers. We sincerely believed that the laws of nature were unshakable and universal throughout the void. Scientists thought that gravity always pulls and time always flows only forward at a constant speed. But now we see how someone is literally rewriting these strict rules at will. They use space like simple modeling clay, molding it into the geometric shapes they need. This elevates them from the status of a merely advanced civilization to the rank of true gods. Our science is powerless to explain even the slightest fraction of their astonishing technical achievements. And then, your invisible opponent simply burns the board and starts moving the pieces through the air. This is precisely the absurd situation in which the entire field of astrophysics now finds itself. Our best minds sit before boards with outdated and utterly useless rules. Perhaps we live in an isolated sanctuary with artificially simplified and safe physics. We were deliberately given Newton's simple laws so that we could gradually develop and learn. The real, complex universe begins far beyond the limits of our primitive perception of space. We are like fish in an aquarium who sincerely believe that the whole world consists only of water, and we look in horror at the impossible shadows of those walking outside the glass. We have always taken pride in our ability to predict cosmic phenomena with high precision. Astronomers can calculate a solar eclipse with an error margin of milliseconds for millennia to come. But now we understand that our predictability is a sign of our artificial isolation. In the real, vast cosmos, there is no place for such simple and primitive linear mechanics. There, the laws of distorted time, suppressed radio waves, and the controlled gravity of singularities reign. But mathematics stubbornly yields infinities and absurd results when calculating these anomalies. Our collective mind is simply incapable of processing such an overwhelming concentration of data. We have proven too foolish for the reality in which we happen to exist. This helplessness alters the very essence of all our space programs and research. We are no longer pioneers. We are frightened witnesses to a grandeur we cannot comprehend. All that remains for us is to quietly record the impossible facts and hope that we go unnoticed. Pride in human intellect has given way to a sticky, cold, existential dread. We suddenly realize that our place in this world is not merely modest, it is utterly insignificant. The nature of this isolation around black holes conceals a terrifying philosophical paradox. Civilizations that have chosen this path to salvation condemn themselves to the cruelest curse of eternity. They gain absolute safety from any external threats at the cost of a complete halt to their own development. Time outside races by at colossal speed, turning galaxies into cold, dead dust. And they are forced to endlessly watch this slow death of the universe from their safe bunker. For them, the starry sky is not the static, peaceful scene we are accustomed to. Due to gravitational distortion, they see stars flaring up and fading away in a matter of seconds. They watch as entire civilizations are born, develop, and perish instantly in fast forward. This endless spectacle of cosmic horror is broadcast directly into their sky at breakneck speed. The psyche of any sentient being would inevitably break under such a monstrous spectacle. Perhaps they lost their minds long ago from this endless contemplation of the accelerated end of the world. Their technology is perfect, but their souls may have turned into empty, cold mathematics. If the threat of annihilation ever looms over us, will we choose this trap of eternity? The instinct for self-preservation could force even the most advanced race to commit this monstrous mistake. And then Earth, too, will become yet another lonely grave on the edge of a dark gravitational abyss. Every new generation in their world is born with an awareness of its complete and absolute hopelessness. They have no dreams of conquering new worlds, because all the worlds around them are rapidly dying. Their science has come to a standstill because they have already mastered the most complex laws of physics. They have nothing left to discover, nowhere to strive for, and absolutely nothing to fight for in the future. This is a perfect dystopia, built on the foundation of absolute technological power. Sometimes our scientists think it would be merciful to somehow destroy this eternal barrier of theirs, to bring them back into the normal flow of time, to let them live and develop alongside us. But we are powerless against the gravity of the singularity and cannot change anything in their fate. We can only quietly observe their static worlds through the lenses of powerful radio telescopes. Sometimes progress leads straight into a flawlessly designed solitary confinement cell with no doors. We must be very careful in our quest for absolute power over the laws of physics. Otherwise, we risk losing forever the very essence of what makes us truly alive. There is an even darker interpretation of this global exodus of sentient beings toward black holes. What if they weren't simply seeking a peaceful refuge from the natural aging of a dangerous cosmos? Perhaps they were desperately fleeing from something active, incredibly cruel, and purposefully seeking victims. This theory brings us back to the concept of the dark forest, but on an entirely different level. Under normal conditions in the universe, hiding from a powerful and technologically advanced hunter is practically impossible. Any signal, any thermal radiation from a planet inevitably attracts the attention of predatory and aggressive civilizations. Conventional cloaking methods are ineffective against radars capable of scanning entire galaxies in minutes. The only reliable way to become invisible is to step completely outside the bounds of normal physical space. Our naive openness looks like pure suicide in the eyes of those hiding near singularities. We have already revealed our exact coordinates to anyone capable of scanning this space. Every day, our radio signature expands by millions of kilometers, attracting more and more unwanted attention. We send welcome messages, music, and mathematical formulas into space, demonstrating our growing intelligence. Their choice proves that war in space has no rules or humanitarian constraints. The victor always gains absolute control over space, while the loser vanishes without a trace. And in this brutal game, humanity has not a single chance of survival. We will not have time to develop the technology to move our planet toward a saving black hole. Our engines are too primitive, and our knowledge of gravity is in its infancy. When the predators come for us, we will meet them in our usual circular orbit. Realizing this scenario completely renders any long-term plans for the development of our society meaningless. Why build cities and advance science if guaranteed and rapid destruction from above awaits us? Scientists who understand the full depth of the problem work under conditions of extreme stress and deep depression. We have become spectators of a horror movie in which we ourselves play the role of the very first victims. And the scariest thing is that we can no longer press pause or turn off the TV. Darkness is inevitably closing in on us from all sides of this vast and cold universe. If we imagine ourselves for a second as inhabitants of these dark worlds, the picture becomes unbearable. Life in the orbit of the event horizon requires not only technological, but also total psychological rebirth. The sky above their heads bears no resemblance to the tranquil scattering of stars we know. In this distorted sky, it is impossible to find a single familiar constellation or stable landmark. The light from distant galaxies curves around the black hole in a circle, creating multiple projections of the same trajectory. They see the back of their own planet, looking straight ahead into the warped space of emptiness. This visual madness must constantly remind them of the unnaturalness of their difficult and forced situation. A normal psyche is simply incapable of withstanding such aggressive and chaotic optical pressure for long. Their society is a perfectly tuned mechanism where each individual performs a strictly defined function. It is terrifying to imagine a society in which the right to even the slightest mistake is completely and permanently absent. If a single operator on Earth makes a mistake, in the worst case, a plane or a rocket will crash. If an inhabitant of this planet makes a mistake, their entire vast world will immediately be torn apart beyond the event horizon. Life under such inhuman pressure demands the harshest discipline and the complete erasure of any individuality. Free will under such conditions becomes the greatest threat to the survival of their entire species. Therefore, they had to become a single, faceless, and absolutely obedient collective mind, devoid of emotion. And we are by no means certain that we will be able to preserve our humanity in the face of absolute darkness. This thought poisons the joy of every new astronomical discovery and every successful rocket launch. Our future no longer looks bright. It is shrouded in the thick, impenetrable shadow of black holes. But there is one hypothesis that turns this entire frightening scenario on its head. What if, from the very beginning, we have been fundamentally mistaken in our interpretation of all our observations? We are accustomed to thinking that we are in the normal, free, and safe space of our home universe, and we look with pity upon those who are hiding or trapped near supermassive black holes. But what if the situation is exactly the opposite, and it is we who are in strict isolation? Some theoretical physicists suggest that our universe itself might be inside a black hole. Our laws of physics, including the speed of light and quantum mechanics, are merely local rules of the singularity. And those impossible planets we observe at the boundaries are not prisons for defeated civilizations. This explains why their technologies seem to us to violate the basic laws of our earthly physics. They simply do not obey the rules of our aquarium because they wrote those rules themselves. Then the Great Silence, which so terrifies our scientists, is not the absence of life in space. It is the absolute soundproof insulation of the walls of our grandiose prison from the external, real, and noisy world. Our fate depends completely and unconditionally on the mood and plans of those beings at the outer boundary. If they decide to end the experiment, our universe will simply cease to exist in a single, brief millisecond. These worlds are the only thin windows connecting our illusion to their authentic and terrifying reality. And through these windows, they coldly and emotionlessly record our every pitiful step in the void. All we can do is hope that they find us amusing enough not to destroy us right now. All of our science must be redirected towards studying the boundaries of this universal quarantine and the event horizon. We can no longer waste time on the futile study of the inner workings of our closed and isolated cell. We must try to understand the language of those who built these observation posts at the edge of our reality. Even if that language consists of pure gravity and distortions of space, we are obligated to decipher it. It is our only, albeit faint, chance to realize our true place in this terrifying hierarchy. We now stand on the threshold of the most terrifying realization in the entire long history of our intelligent species. The discoveries of recent years leave us no room for our former illusions of a bright and safe cosmos. We have come to understand that the universe is not merely indifferent to us, it is structured so that we are bound to lose. Whether it's the dark forest, a temporal trap, or quarantine, the outcome for humanity remains the same. We are surrounded by superior forces whose logic we are unable to understand or adequately predict. Our scientists are under unprecedented pressure, fully aware of the gravity of this new and extremely grim knowledge. Every day they come to the observatories like soldiers in the trenches, awaiting the final blow from the darkness. These impossible worlds near black holes have become a mirror reflecting our cosmic insignificance. They have shattered our egocentrism and proven that reality is under no obligation whatsoever to be kind to us. We are merely accidental guests at this celebration of survival, and our ticket will soon be immediately revoked. The irony of fate is that we ourselves have expended so much effort to learn this ruthless and cold truth. We sought out brothers in reason, but found only silent witnesses to our own impending end. Every star in the sky now looks to us not as a beacon of hope, but as a warning signal. We gaze into the darkness, and that darkness responds with a cold, gravity-warped gaze of eternal silence. And in this silence resounds the most terrifying and final verdict for our entire species. We were wrong about everything we believed in so sincerely and for so long throughout our history. Reality turned out to be different from what we thought, and we will absolutely certainly not be able to survive in it. In the end, we are left alone with our existential horror on this small and fragile blue planet. All our attempts to understand the universe have led only to the realization of our complete and unconditional doom in the void. The impossible worlds at the edges of black holes continue to keep their dark secrets hidden from our primitive instruments. We can only speculate about what fate awaits us in this cruel cosmic game. Only one thing is clear: our existence in this world is merely a temporary, very brief, and insignificant anomaly. So the next time you look up at the clear night sky, forget all the romantic earthly fairy tales. There are no benevolent neighbors ready to share their technologies and the wisdom of the ages with us for the common good. A brutal war for survival is unfolding there, where the victors hide forever behind the distortions of time and space. All that remains for us is to cherish every second of our peaceful illusion on this planet until it crumbles. For when the first sound finally echoes through the air, it will be no joyful, friendly greeting at all. It will be a signal that our brief and carefree time in this universe has run out forever,